Have you ever worked hard towards something and you just wondered why the harder you worked, the less results you got? Or perhaps you were giving something your all, but for some reason, the return on that investment wasn't visible and it wasn't evident. If you've been there and if you are still there, I understand exactly where you are at. And I had to learn a very true and thoughtful lesson. And that lesson was, you don't attract what you want, you attract who you are. And so let's break that down for a second. If you are someone who is extremely competitive and perhaps you want to enroll in playing competitive sports, compete and travel with the team, this is just a scenario that I'm creating. And let's say the team requires you to wake up at a certain time, report to several practices, audition your skills, show your talents and abilities, do timed workouts, and sort of display your grit, your perseverance, your level of endurance. And yet, when it is time to go and time to actually execute, then there is some sort of self-sabotage where you may not arrive to practice on time, or you're not eating in a way that would benefit your body and cause your body to move, right, very agile, the way that might be required for that team or for that profession. And things are just not really matching up because what you desire is not necessarily matching up with who you are internally, that deep conviction. And so that's what I want to talk about really quickly today. And I'm using sports as an example, but we can talk about in any field, right, in any specialty, or even if it's just wanting to complete one course, even if it's just wanting to start to eat better, start to cook more at home, start to use your finances in a way that is suitable for you, whatever capacity you find yourself to be in right now in this season. Remember that you only can attract who you are, not what you do. And so if you are doing the things, but genuinely in your subconscious mind, there is a conviction that you are not good enough, that for some reason you are not worthy of that, which you're calling to yourself, that you need to do several things before you can attain that thing that you want. And you begin to impose steps and limitations and resistance within your process, then you're not necessarily going to achieve the things that you desire to achieve. And so it is critical that you spend enough time with yourself that you can audit and begin to reflect and ask yourself, am I genuinely prepared for what it is that I'm asking for? And am I who I'm asking to be in this moment? And so I've mentioned this in my previous videos that we have a tendency to ask for things. We ask God for things, we pray about things, we have convictions about things. We want to genuinely take inspired action towards something, but the need and the want and the desire doesn't necessarily match the preparation or the daily consistency that matches that desire. So you can't attract what you want when you're genuinely attracting who you are. So the question then is, who are you at the core? Who are you genuinely showing up as at the very core of who you are? Are you a person that embodies consistency? Are you a person that knows how to persevere through challenges? Can you sort of move with a very ebb and flow rhythm when things don't work out the way you want them to work out for you? How do you respond to delays? How do you respond to deadlines? What is your attitude like towards others? Are you extremely judgmental? Do you come across as arrogant or feeling like you have nothing to learn because you've arrived to a place of just clarity, and so you're boxed off from other perspectives and other ways of being? And so this is not in any way, shape, or form trying to say that you should change who you are or that your uniqueness should not be celebrated. I believe that we are all unique in our own right and in our own way. However, I'm noticing that there's such a huge gap, even within myself at times, where you want something, you desire something, you might work towards it, and then you sort of feel like you're spinning in a circle. It's like the hamster on the wheel that doesn't necessarily attain the thing that it wants. It believes that because it's moving, something is happening. It believes that because there's emotion, something is happening. But at the depth and at the core of it all, nothing is really happening. Things are not changing. They're not shifting, and they're not transitioning to a better realm or dimension on where you want to go in your life. And so the question again is, who are you at the extreme core? Have you sat down with yourself long enough to really begin to assess how you show up in this world on a daily basis? And again, I know that we are in a storm of perspectives, and we are in a storm of warfare right now. And we see things that are just injustices that are going on in the world. And there's so many things, right, that it sort of begins to distract and even oftentimes possibly break your spirit when you are unsure as to how I fit in all of this, and how do I carry on even in the midst of frustration and delays and resistance and genuine things that are happening in the world. However, I had to learn that there is but so much that I can control in the world. I can actively take part in the things that I'm truly passionate about and the causes that I stand behind. And even that action and cause has a limit. But you have to know yourself long enough to know that what baton are you carrying and what baton are you prepared to pass on to the next generation or to your children, to your family, whatever capacity that is for you. But we're not attracting who like what we do. We're attracting who we genuinely are. We're not attracting our actions. And so I come from a family where I seen my mom and my dad work extremely hard. I seen their level of consistency. I can count on one hand how many times they've actually taken a vacation, how many times that they've actually soaked in the sun and just sat on a beach and let the waves, just watch the waves sort of crash. And that is, it's sort of sad, because you look back and you think to yourself, like, I'm so grateful for their sacrifices and everything that they've done. But at the same time, it just shows you that disconnect between working hard and attaining the things, but genuinely not living. And so in their mind, perhaps that consistency of not wanting to drop the ball culturally, right? I know that my culture is probably not the only one that's impacted by this sort of thinking, but culturally, it's like you work hard for what you want. You don't have any excuses. You don't take days off. If you're sick, you push through. And so I think we're coming to terms where, well, if working hard was the grand recipe, then a lot of us would really be where we want to be right now. A lot of us would have achieved the things that we possibly desire, because a lot of the things that we've associated success with was working hard and being diligent and remaining consistent. However, what if we switch that narrative and realize that I can only attract like who I genuinely am at the core? I can only manifest and create that which I am at the core. The subconscious mind is not a respecter of persons. It's simply taking cues from the programming that you've instilled within your operating system. And if your operating system is constantly saying, work hard, we need this, if I don't do this, if this happens, then that, right? Coming from the space of like lack and resistance and delay and waiting for the other shoe to drop is really setting up the groundwork for there not to be as much progress, because the operating system, the core belief, the internal conviction is that somehow you need to do these things to arrive to what you want to arrive to. And it's not in the action, it is always in the belief. It is not in the action, it is always in the belief. And I know that people say, like, fake it till you make it, or I'll believe it when I see it. And I'd like to switch it around and actually say, well, believe it, right? Believe it, and then you will see it, right? Not like I'll believe it when I see it. No, believe it now, and then you begin to see the manifestation. Then you begin to see the blossoming. Then you begin to see the fruition of what it is that you desire and what you're calling towards yourself. I don't know if you practice meditation or whatever spiritual practices that you have in place for yourself, whether it's meditating, whether it's journaling, whether it's prayer, whether it's fasting, whether it's abstaining from social media, right? Like that'll be a nice way to sort of clear your psyche and sort of audit yourself and get still and get quiet enough where you can begin to determine for yourself what is true for you. And in understanding what's true for you, then you begin to take action from that. And so if you are a person that believes that you don't get to have nice things, and yet you're working for nice things, well, then you're not going to achieve those nice things, right? And I'm talking about the grand manifestation of things, right? Like if, let's just say you want to buy $1 million home, but you genuinely don't believe that in your core, then you're not going to manifest that. It's not going to come to fruition, because your operating system is set as a default where your mind has already accepted subconsciously that you just get to have this much, not this much, not that much, not that. You get what I'm saying? And so you are only getting who you are, not what you do. You attract who you are, not the things that you're doing. So I want you to think about the partners that you have attracted into your life. I want you to think about the opportunities that you've attracted into your life. I want you to think about the friendships that you've attracted into your life. I want you to think about the type of financial situation, health situation, personal relationship within yourself. How is that going? Because that's the most important relationship that you have in this life. How is that going? Assess and audit that, because you are operating from that, and therefore it's sending signals out into the universe. This is what this person desires. This is what they believe of themselves. This is their core foundational encryption. This is their operating system makeup. And then you see the evidence of that in physical form. We can't ignore the laws of nature, although I'll get into that in another video or so, but we can't ignore the laws of nature as though we do not live in a universe that is operated by natural laws and physics and science. And yes, I believe in God, and I believe in the power of us making up our minds. And I believe in the power of belief being projected out there and the physical manifestation being reflected to us. So we can go down a rabbit hole of that, but I really want to stick to the point of, if you are seeing things in your life that are not really in line with what you desire for yourself, genuinely and truly at the core, I would offer you to pause for a second and ask yourself, what do I truly believe about this? Because what I truly believe about this is what is going to manifest. That is what I'm going to see the impressions of. Your consciousness is so powerful, and we wake up with millions, like just so many thoughts going through our minds daily. And a lot of those thoughts are not even welcome thoughts. And so if we're not sifting and sorting and pausing and saying, I hear you, I see you, I'm dismissing you, then we continue to embed our system with defeating thoughts, thoughts of lack, thoughts of limitation. And so we want to switch that, right? Like to empowerment, to hardcore visualization that allows you to just rethink, where am I headed? And is it where I want to be? Be intentional about that, because you're not attracting like the things that you're doing and the things that you want. You attract who you are. You are attracting who you genuinely are at the core. And so I remember a guy telling me, like, you can put lipstick on a pig and it's still a pig, right? It's still going to oink. It still might play in mud. Just because you put lipstick on it doesn't necessarily mean you've transformed it into like a beauty queen. So think about that. Just because you can mask and put on the mask of going out every day of hustling and bustling and going after the things that you want, but in your core, it doesn't match the actions, then there's sort of going to be a miscommunication there. So we're not going to get what we want if what we want is not genuinely who we are at the core. I hope that makes sense. So yes, follow your dreams. Yes, go after what it is that you desire. Believe in yourself. Trust in your ability to create and expand your life at any given moment. And that is through decision and deciding. You make a decision and that's how things change. You make a decision and that's how things move about. You make a decision and that's how one cycle ends and another cycle begins. We underestimate the power of our mind and our thoughts and our ability to create the reality that we desire. So again, you are not attracting what you want. You are attracting who you are in every facet and every aspect of your life. And my hope and my encouragement to you is that you'd be more intentional about attracting who you are and auditing the belief systems that you have ingrained through us, that's been passed down through generations and ways of being and our habits. And we can go on. The list goes on and on and on. Recenter, reset, get clear, and then get going again. But we don't want to just be busy moving. We want to move with intention. We want to move with clarity. We want to move with peace. We want to move with clear instructions, not just to be busy, not just to be doing what's socially acceptable, but what's in alignment with our purpose, our power, and our reason for being here, right, in this earthly realm. Thank you for spending this time with me. I hope that spoke to your spirit and encouraged you in some way, maybe gave you a second to sort of reassess and do a self-audit, maybe if not today, sometime in the future. And if you want any sort of just clarity or resources, just check the description below. I have my podcast link. And I also have a few other things that would hopefully benefit you if you find that to be the case. Thank you for tuning in. I don't take it lightly. I appreciate your time, your energy, and you just being present with me. I'm Temi Devati. Thank you. I'll see you again next time.